Welcome to the Morphtastic podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to another Morphtastic podcast. We've got Chase from the Master Scales here, and we've got Jay from Geckos. Thank you both for joining today.
Sweet, easy, yeah, really nice.
Yes,
Nice
sir.
to have us.
Nice to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll start off with Chase because obviously everyone knows I'm good friends with Jay. Jay's been on previous podcasts before, but we'll start with you, Chase. How did it all start for you? What made you get into geckos? What sort of projects are you working on? Because I know I've spoken to you on a personal level with Jay for many months, and I know you've got into things the right way. But how did it all start for you? Did you work with other animals before geckos?
All right, so basically, I've kept geckos since I was about 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. I've never got to breeding them until a few years, getting into it a few years back. Then, but I've had geckos my whole life, really, and there's one animal I've been passionate about forever. And also, I've kept a few ball pythons here and there, but leopard geckos have always stuck. Then, a couple of years back, I decided I wanted to breed, so I started doing researching my way up, trying to find the best of the best stuff and what I was wanting to work with. And right now, I believe I got a pretty good lineup for this season coming up with a bunch of pure line black knights, pandas, and max snow black knights, stuff like that, and just trying to work at the top of the stuff.
100%. What's a bit different with having you on is you're quite a young guy. So like when I started breeding, I think you would have been like 10. So it's quite like for someone like you, it's a bit different because of you've only just got into. So would you say last year was that your first breeding year last year?
It was my first full breeding season where I actually started pairing geckos, getting them in racks, and getting everything started.
100%. You've produced some really nice tangerines as well, but like I said, what I like with what you've done is you've done things the right way, which obviously you've had Jay as almost like a mentor yes, who's helped you. You know, I know you spent with your sea serpent racks and stuff like that, and with your season to come is going to be phenomenal. We'll talk a bit more later on with the quality you've got, and these podcasts are good for someone like you to. Because I know with social media, you keep yourself to yourself a little bit, but you've got some serious quality there. But you must be so excited to start working with them.
Absolutely cannot wait to start this season. So everything started ovulating here soon. I'm hoping the ovulations start kicking in. Mostly everything's ovulating. And, I'm ready to get everything paired up for this season.
I can't wait. Jay, you know what I'm going to say. You've answered this question so many times. You're a man in demand. Briefly, because I know loads of people who have watched the lives and the podcast with me before or know sort of how you started, but just quick and snappy. How did it all get in? Let's say how did you get into Black Knights? Let's say because I know you started like me. We all got some normals, had a bit of a play around. But what got you into Black Knights?
The goal always was having the whitest animals and the blackest animals. I was breeding the Diablo Blancos beforehand for a good few years, and what I found with the DBs was due to the albino, I couldn't get the crisp white I wanted, so everything I was getting was with a hue of pink. So long story short, my last couple of years of DBs, I wanted to start on the Black Knight project, so that's when I inquired about the pure lines. Long story short, imported a few, the story of that, and it went from there. After obviously getting the initial trio or whatever I got, it just blew up. I was producing stuff far darker than anything that anyone else has seen. So that's what really took off. It was obviously the quality of the Black Knights. Obviously, Diablo Blanco has been around for a lot longer. It's not a well sorted after morph like the Black Knights are. Yeah, and also obviously value wise, they're obviously a lot less valued. So what I've actually done nowadays is, since I sold off the Diablo Blancos, I started on the Universe project, because with the Universe there's no albino, and with no albino there's obviously no pink hue on them. So I'm able to get crisp white geckos via that way.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You've always done things like what I've noticed as a friend is when you go into something, you want to go into it with the mindset, okay, well, if I want to work with Diablo Blancos, I want to get the best possible Diablo Blancos I can get. And that's what you've done with your Black Knights. Would you say with the Black Knights, was it right place at the right time? Because I know you got like one of Ferry's holdbacks. Well, the original male you got came up with a bit of pattern, and obviously you mentioned it to Ferry, and he actually gave you his personal, I'm holding that one back.
Yeah, so when it comes to that, right place, right time, I mean, yes and no, because regardless, when I initially went into it, I paid for the best quality, the highest quality available on the market, and that was the price I paid. So obviously when I got my mail in and he changed very light, that's a £2,200 order. Do you know what I mean? Just on the mail alone. So I did speak to Ferry, and Ferry said, you know, there's a sale that I might. There's one left, but it might be sold. I'll get back to you in a week or two. And he did, and he said, unfortunately, it's sold, but I will. I'll offer you my holdback mail. And I was more than happy to take him. That's now Aldwin, as you know. But I wouldn't say right place, right time. I don't really put it down to luck, because even without that holdback mail, I think I still would have done everything the way I'd done it, and I still would be where I am now.
Yeah. Me knowing how you are, that is definitely you would have went out and found the best one you could get regardless. So I definitely agree with that. So some of the other projects you're working on, Jay, I know there's a lot of people talking about the Panda stuff, and I know there's a lot of people messaging you regarding the Panda stuff. Could you go into a little bit of detail about the Panda? Because for me as a breeder, it can be a little bit confusing in a way. We do see, you know, Max Snow, Eclipse, Black Knight being Panda, and we also see in Super Snow, Black Knight, Eclipse being Panda. What's your take on the sort of briefly talk us through what you would expect from Panda? Because of not only are you working with Panda, you have got the original Panda.
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually took over the line as such. So I imported the original male last year as a lone animal, actually, as a joint project. Add my darkness into the Panda line. However, long story short, I ended up taking over the whole line. Obviously, with the creator's work she done behind it, obviously it's a little bit messy. So I personally would say Panda's a line like Black Knight. So Super Snow, Eclipse, Black Knight that come from Panda, it's Panda line geckos. But obviously I don't feel like I have the authority to change that at all. And when it comes to the Max Snow, Eclipse, Black Knight stuff, when it has, because obviously it has like the Panda look. The Panda look is the Eclipse markings, which actually they call it Panda Pied in the USA. So they call pied the nose pied, tail pied, and the legs pied. However, over here, that's just Eclipse markings. That's not actually pied. So Panda pied isn't actually what it should be called. It's just Panda. So with the Max Snow Eclipse stuff, you also get the legs, the nose, the tail tip. Obviously, that's where you could go with the lower form. That could be Panda Project, and with the super form, that should be Panda. But again, that is how they originally had it. If I was able to change it, Panda would be a line of gecko, and I would name Max Snow Eclipse Black Knight something a little bit different to the super form. Yeah. So there's not a confusion there.
Yeah, I think the problem we could possibly see in the future is, like, we'll go into this a little bit more later in the episode with, you know, how we're seeing Black Knight stuff being labelled, with the Panda not being, like, for example, what you're saying is, in your opinion, for it to be Panda has to come from the Panda project, because of you get other Black Knights here, there, everywhere. So as it currently stands, that no matter, you can get a Black Knight from anybody, pair that to a Super Snow, Eclipse had produced a Black Knight Super Selective, and they're just going to go, that's Panda.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
really it should be from the Panda.
The only other problem we have there though is because everyone's been working on this. Even I was working on it before I actually got the original Panda. So I had Panda Project. I call them Panda Project Geckos. So I had geckos that are coming up to like my Void Max Snow stuff. That was all going to go into my own Panda stuff over the next couple of years. I was doing the long run. I was getting my darkness over and working on darkness first. That was the main key for me, was the darkness. But you see, with other people, when they have all these geckos, and if I then come out and said Panda is a line of gecko and it should only be called Panda line stuff from the Panda, you're going to get all these other names for everyone else's geckos. So you're going to get Panda. Everyone else who's worked on it is going to be calling it something different.
Yeah. No. So you got to sort of, I totally agree what you mean. But in this whole, and me and you have spoke for hours. I spoke to Chase. What is the confusion? It seems to be only with Black Knight, because of when you go on Morph Market, you see all these. I call them Het Murphy patternlesses. Most of these Black Knights I see look like Het Murphy patternless Het Blizzards. You know, Black Knight produces that dotting all over, but there's no darkness.
Mm-hmm.
What is the need for it, basically? Like, it doesn't. Me as a breeder, it's all about doing a line or a gene justice. Like, I saw something the other day. It was like 68.5% Black Knight, and I was like, how did you get to that?
Yeah.
So what is the problem with it, with that side of thing? Is it marketing? Because we know, there's always going to be people out there that are not going to want to spend, so they're going to go and get the £300 one and pray and hope they're going to produce the Eco Gecko Black Knight, let's say.
So what it is there, mate, it is down to marketing and greed. That's the only thing I can put it down to over the years that I've seen. When you pair a Black Knight, bear in mind, Black Knight's a line bred trait. So I've said this on other podcasts and other lives. If you have a Tangerine, you paired it to a normal, and you got normals out of that, you wouldn't label them Tangerine, would you?
No.
So if you have a Black Knight, you paired it to anything other than Black Knight, even if you paired it to Black Knight, and you've got a normal in front of you, that is not a Black Knight. It's a start. Don't get me wrong. It's a start. It's got the bloodline there, whatever. But it's not Black Knight. It shouldn't be labelled Black Knight. Me and Ferry have both agreed on this. We spoke about it. He actually asked me to make a public statement on it, but I didn't feel like I had the authority to do so, even with his permission. But me and Ferry were devastated on how the Black Knight is transitioning into any gecko. You can have a white gecko and people are calling it Black Knight these days.
Yeah.
It's silly. Black Knight is a line bred trait, and it takes years to get the Black Knight over. Not just 1 year of pairing it to anything and then calling all your offspring Black Knight. It doesn't work like that. Not only that, the price has increased by $200, $300, $400, $500 each time, just because of the name Black Knight. I do find it a marketing scheme and a money grabbing scheme, to be fair.
It's a bit of an insult for those who work with Black Knight like you do, in a way. Not to say like there will be people listening to this that, we all have different views, different opinions on things.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying my opinion is the only. That's my opinion. That's what I've seen over the years, and I share the opinion with Ferry himself. Do you know what I mean? So, it's definitely a controversial subject, but yeah, it's just one of those subjects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I won't be able to fix it. And I won't be able to make it better. It is a line bred trait, so even though you put in the line there, it will take you many years. Black Knight takes years and years to get over. I always say give yourself 5 years on a Black Knight project if you're starting from scratch.
100%.
Yeah.
Chase, would you, being in the USA, I know USA market and UK markets are completely different. What would you say the market is like in the Black Knight scene? I know you haven't produced any or sold any yet, but from somebody, because I know you're one of them kids that are browsing all the time. You're all like, you show me all the time. Look at that Axantic. Oh, look at that, man. What would you say the Black Knight scene is a bit messy in USA?
I honestly would go to say it is. Like, you look at the animals being produced that Jay's produce and Fairies produce, dark animals. That's Black Knight. I see Black Knights. You'll get your lighter Black Knights, with brownish blackishes in them, and but that's still, the line Black Knight. But like going back to what Jay said, is you can't pair a Black Knight with a random, white gecko, then all of a sudden Black Knight, Diablo Blanco or something like that. You can't do that. Just if you're adding it to something, I don't like you was talking about the percentages and stuff. I see that and I'm like, it just kind of throws me off. It's like, what are they say with that? But the scene of the Black Knight stuff over here is a little messy. It honestly is, and that's just my opinion as well. But there's some improvement to be done. That's why I've tried to bring most of Jay's stuff over to kind of straighten that up a little bit. To bring pure dark animals and just straight gorgeous animals.
Yeah, I think from what I can see with USA is I think we're lucky in Europe that there is other breeders out there in Europe that are producing Black Knights. Not to, because we'll get onto this topic a little bit later. With Jays do stand out from the rest of the last podcast I've done with Lee the zookeeper. He said the same. He said, George, like, I'm not a massive leopard gecko breeder, but for some reasons Jay just has a league of its own. Do you know what I mean? But what I think with USA is I think because they're lacking such dark animals, there's not many. I haven't seen many jet black geckos coming out of the USA, so it's almost like everyone is working with it to try and produce it. That's why we're seeing so many of them. This is where you're going to come along and go, you guys want to see a proper Black Knight. This is why you're going to do so well this year with how many Black Knights did you import?
So on the December run, I brought in, I believe, Pure Lines. I brought in a 1.3 group, I believe, and then this coming import, I'll be bringing 3 more females. So I have about a 1.6, 1.7 Black Knight group. Then, and all those animals, 99%, they're almost full black animal.
Yeah,
a male, solid black, slight pattern.
You even got some of Jay's own proven breeders as well. So, like, he knows what they produce as well.
I've brought in a couple of his proven breeders that spit some amazing babies that they do for me. I'm so excited. That handed it down to me, for the opportunities gave me to bring him into the U.S. and make the U.S. Black Knight market just something else.
For those that will be listening and tuned into this, there will be a lot of USA people that will be listening, thinking, how did you find basically the importing from the UK? Because it has to go UK, then it has to go to Houghton. Sorry, is it Ham or Houghton, Jay? It goes to DDI. Sorry.
So just importing from me, I do all the work. So all you got to do is place the order you want. It normally costs around $160 for the baseline shipment and 1 gecko, and then it's $60 per added gecko. I can ship to the USA. I do all the work. All you do is sit back, relax, and I will give you the date, a tracking number and everything on the day they're shipped, and you can pick them up from your local hub, or they can get delivered to your door. I always recommend picking them up from your local hub. That way FedEx and that aren't dealing with them. They just go in there and you pick them up. What they do is from the UK is I spoke to Evan about this the other day. It's very hard to import and export. For me to get a gecko out of the UK will cost me about $100 minimum.
Yeah.
And that's just to get them out to DDI. So everything I ship will go to DDI first, which is in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, and then it will go to the USA. When you've got a courier like the one we use, Bailey Reptile EU, obviously as a friend, it makes it so much easier. There's a lot less stress. But probably one of the most stressful parts of this hobby is shipping animals out.
Yeah,
it is a headache. It is a worry. It's like anxiety just sitting in your chest.
it's a little bit more different for you as well because we're talking about, we're not talking about a $500 animal. We're talking like if
No,
someone
yeah.
like Chase has bought 10 black knights, I ain't gonna
Yes,
throw any
exactly.
numbers. I ain't gonna throw any numbers out there, but you can sort of do the maths, and
Yeah,
it can be, and especially because of what people don't realize is a lot of the time we can't just someone can't buy an animal for you tomorrow and say I'll ship it tomorrow. It's like every 3, 4, 5 months we can do an export. So sometimes
yeah.
people are buying an animal and you're having to look after it for 5 months. So when
Oh yeah,
someone's
for sure.
purchased that animal, it's electric time on your behalf. So when something goes wrong, obviously the other side will obviously want a refund. But this is
Yeah,
where again when you do import and export, you do have to look at not only our TNCs, you do have to look at the courier's TNCs because of as a breeder, obviously I want everyone's animals to get there safely. These animals we've raised from a baby, we care about the animal. You also need to look at when it's gone, when it's taken out of our hands, it's kind of not
yeah.
like if an animal gets taken from me and it's on a courier for 4 days and it dies on the fourth day, it's sort of out of my hands. Would you agree with that, Jay?
I do 100%. I'm so lucky I have not had any issues whatsoever so far. But I think as someone who's supplying, I think there should always have your TNCs in place. But I also, if the customer was going to suffer a big loss, I'm always going to try and make that
Try and make
better
something work.
yeah, I'm going to make something work, even if it makes me look loss. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. But they just lost their money. You know what I mean? Like they've
Yeah.
lost their money. So I'd always offer, depending on the situation. Let's say, or I sold some geckos to Chase and never made it to him. Instead of just going, well, talk to Corey or whatever, I'd go, listen, next season when I produce some more, I'll make sure I send you
Yeah.
something similar back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
That's how I like to work because I don't like leaving any business in bad vibes at all. I like 100% positive feedback. That's how I work. It's what I strive for. I don't want anyone leaving leaving my from purchasing from me leaving it with a even doubt. Do you know what I mean? I want them to be 100% satisfied.
couldn't
And
agree with you
it's
anymore.
very hard when it comes to Black Knight crosses because with crosses and that they can change. They change a lot. They fluctuate. So people can buy a certain animal. Like you said, there's a five. It could be a 3 to 5 month gap between where I can ship it. When they receive the animal, sometimes it's 3 times darker than they purchased it as. Sometimes a little bit lighter. So obviously, even then, I will offer. Let's say an animal's lightened right up. I'll say, listen, with age, that cross will probably go a little bit darker. Especially with the genes I work with Max Snow and with the Het Eclipse, the darkness hides very well. Even with the Eclipse, it can hide very, very well. But these animals can produce absolutely stunning geckos when paired back to the right parent, the right opposite sex.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that means a nice dark, whatever. But if in the case where they do lighten up and I have shipped it, I will always say, give it some time. If it doesn't, I will sort you out.
Yeah, 100.
And I don't have to do that. Bear in mind, I can't predict animals. Do you know what I mean? But I want people to be happy with what they got.
You as a person, it's all because I know you very well. Everything's like the best. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, when someone buys a gecko from you, it's an experience. Yeah. You want someone to like look at. We know with Chase, he documented the whole day to us on Facebook Messenger. Like he's so excited. It's an experience. So Chase, when you went in, how did the import go for you? Was it smoother than you expected? I can imagine England and America ain't next door neighbors.
No, not at all. But the import went really smooth, way smoother than I expected. And Jay communicated really well with me through it and kept me updated on anything, if anything changed. And one day, I believe the weather was kind of rough, so they delayed it that day, which I was stressed out about that a little bit. But they held it, and everything went smoothly after that. And yeah, Jay was real flexible with everything, helped me out, and I just sat back. And then as soon as it arrived, I went up and picked it up, and everything went smoothly. Everything looked just as how it should.
It's crazy how easy it is, eh? How
It's
easy it actually is.
because, like, yeah, I think that's thousands of miles. I don't even know how many. That's a long ways away, and they came over just like that, just like it was nothing.
Yeah. How did you being some? Because I know a lot of people are gonna like this is gonna go back to what Jay just said. When you ship animals, it could be a tangerine, it could be a black knight, it can be anything. When you're shipping an animal's going to be a little bit stressed. You know, the color will dilute and stuff like that. And as you warm them back up and they get their bellies full of food again, they bring their color back or darkness back. Let's say for somebody who had got an import from overseas, did you see that? What's your experience with that? For people that are going to be tuning in and have imported Black Knight, because let's say you spend $1,200 or $1,400, whatever it is you spend on a Black Knight, and it comes normal, but a lot of people, or not normal, but like a lot lighter than you expected. A lot of people are going to be panicking. So explain when they arrived to you. Was they a little bit lighter, and did you see a change?
So when they arrive, Black Knights always fluctuate with color either way. Like one day you open up the tub, they'll be solid, and one day they'll be light. But when they first arrived, the colors was they were showing a little bit of pattern, but like the colors, there wasn't gonna be they were cold. They were cool coming back. There wasn't cold, but they were cool. And the colors was like some of them was lighter, and I think there was a couple that basically stayed the same, but most of them was lighter. But as soon as I put them on their heat, put them into their enclosures, they got settled in, started eating, the colors came right back. Then they were just how Jay sent them in the photos.
And
even darker, honestly.
The good thing with Jay's photos, because I had a conversation with Jay again. I said to him, why don't you start getting your camera out more? And he said, because of sometimes a camera can manipulate a look in an animal. So when I send an iPhone photo, that is pretty much as close as you're going to get.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I've stopped doing, especially with tangs and the flash. The flash on the tangs, it really enhances the colors like mad. So I tend to stop. Thing is, I'd rather you purchase a gecko and it not look 100% in an iPhone photo, but when you receive it, you go, oh my God, wow, that's so much better in person. Other than seeing this amazing Canon camera photo and getting it and going, ain't as nice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd always prefer that. I tend to do iPhone pictures. I tend to do videos. You know what I mean?
We've done imports. It's nothing better than when you've bought an animal and it arrives and you go, bloody hell, that's better than I thought it would be.
Well, remember when I imported the Axantics, the female that I imported from Altitude, it was just a dark base. This is a lockdown. It was just a dark base female. It looked grey. And I went, it was 100%. I went, I'll take it. Doesn't matter. When she arrived, she was a near solid black animal. Fired up. I couldn't believe it. I had struck gold with the animal. That's probably one of the best purchases I've done via the Crested geckos, due to just how much she changed when she fired up.
Yeah, I don't want to be biased, but she's probably one of the best Crested geckos I've seen.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, for sure. She the darkness on her for being a het is magical, to the point where I was offered $20,000 for her. And I said, not a chance.
Yeah, she's the piece of history. She's going to be a piece of history in the making, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, so she's obviously, I paired last year, so I paired het to het. So the chances weren't obviously the best to get those visuals. However, I did get an egg that went bad. Not went bad, but it definitely died in the egg. So I opened it up. And the Axantic obviously had died within that week inside. It was my only visual I hatched that. Well, I didn't hatch, but I had via that pair, and the black on that Axantic was unreal.
Yeah,
it would have been a real special gecko. So obviously, I paired her to a Lily White this season. Lily White het Axantic. I'm just hoping I obviously get lucky with that.
Yeah, I have no doubt, mate. You didn't hit the odds, let's say, last season, but this season I have no doubts. And with some other bits and pieces you've ordered as well.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to touch base from somebody who used to run a courier. because I see it all the time. People get an animal delivered to them. They go, "Oh my god, it's cold. It's freezing." I just would like people to know this is. When I opened my courier, I had to go through DEFRA checks and stuff like that. I was proper licensed. Your animal is better off being cooler than too hot, because when they're
100%.
cold, they will go to sleep. When they're too hot, you can't escape when you're too hot.
Yeah.
So I did just want to make sure I let people know and touch base. Like I see it all the time. My gecko came a little bit cold. We're actually told to, when we curry animals, to actually have it about 3 or 4 degrees cooler. So with leopard geckos, you're talking 29, 28. You know, it ain't too cold that they're not going to survive, but it's a little cold enough just for them to, slow their metabolism down, go to sleep. Because when they're too hot, they're going to be energetic, and it's just not good. So I just wanted to make sure I touched base on that. But Jay, going back to Black Knight, like I said to you earlier, yours are like on a different league. How did you get into that? Because I know people have came up to you and like genuinely Black Knights have that like specking look to it. Would you say it's how you've kept your Black Knights, or would you say it's you selectively seen like there's something you've look for in a Black Knight and that's what you've selectively line bred? Because of if someone shows me an Eco Gecko Black Knight and someone I dare I say it, and I'm a huge fan of his work, and someone shows me ferries, I can actually see a difference.
Yeah. That's ego boost, that, mate.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't even Ferry has asked you, Jay.
Yes,
you got this like certain look. How do you?
Yeah. So
what you cooking up in there?
Yeah. So when it comes down, so it's a long one. It goes into like goes into many other pathways, that question. So a lot of people use temperatures to make their geckos look darker. Berry is one who also does this. He's public about it. When I bought my first lot, I was told to keep them under a certain temperature for the first year of their life, and I went, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in that, because so long story short, I kept them all normal temperatures. When I bred them, it was all normal, like how I would do with my DBs. And what I was looking for those actual black animals, those natural black animals, not artificially created black animals. So these were the ones that were obviously held back to go further on. But I'd never pair back these to. I know all Black Knights are related due to the incest in the line, but I'd never pair them back to the father, the brothers, blah blah blah. I found that having so much more success with Black Knight, not incest breeding further. I'd use other imports. I'd yeah. So long story short, when it comes to breeding them, and what I did different was I didn't use temperature. I looked for genetically black animals, and also anything to do with brownness on a Black Knight. Brown indicates pattern underneath. There's that animal will lighten up at some point, or you will find a pattern in that animal. So I was looking for any brown, any pattern. I was looking for those actual full black animals. And the thing is, even if I paired 1 to 3 group of full black animals, I'm not going to get all the babies that are full black. I'm lucky to get one animal from each pairing that will be full black. And this is what people don't understand. People think if you pair 2 black animals together, you're going to get black animals. It doesn't work like that. I find it like a hit or miss, like a chance. So if I was to pair up a 1 to 3 group, like I said, I'm lucky to get one from each pairing. And when people go into buying Black Knights, all they want is, have you got a full black one? Have you got a full black one? No, they're the first one gone. Like, these animals are the most popular animals in my collection. So a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand the rarity of Black Knights. Now, when you're buying a Black Knight, you've got to be very careful, because temperature is a big thing. So you can have a gecko that it can look darker because it's been on lower temperatures. And when you buy it and put it on normal temperatures, it's going to lighten up. You're going to go, wow. There's also another route where a gecko, you can have a gecko, pure line, which hatches fairly normal with some darkness. With the age, around 10 to 14 months, that gecko will go darker. And now that's sold for more money as a darker black knight. However, the babies are going to be more than likely how that hatched, very light. So you've got to be very careful when buying a black knight and who you're going to, because you can get animals that look dark. I call it fake black, I call it fake black, but they're not really black at all.
Yeah, they won't produce what you think you're going to produce you, basically.
Yeah. I find when you see brownness and
it's that yellow normal color undertone in that black. Yeah.
Yes, and there's a lot of pattern. See, every black knight I tend to find will have a bit of pattern. You want to find the one with the least amount of pattern. And with males, that's extremely hard. I always say you're going to get pattern down the back. Always just a bit of pattern. But that is your best chance of a male. Your best chance of a male. As long as it doesn't... So by the time it hits like... let's say I hatch a really good one, yeah? This is how I look at it. I hatch one, it's got minimum pattern, and it's brilliant. I raise it up to 30 grams, the pattern's disappeared. With a good one, from the pure... This is pure line only I'm talking about. That pattern's disappeared by 30 grams, all right? That leopard gecko will not fluctuate at all up to 60, 70 grams. That won't change for the rest of its life.
Yeah.
That's the one you want.
Because it started off that colour.
It started off minimum pattern. As it was growing, it covered that slight pattern, but then didn't change at all. And these are the ones I tend to keep and breed back. The ones that do not, there's no fluctuation. Doesn't matter if I put them on 33 or 30. Do you know what I mean? It does not matter. These animals are black.
Yeah, because what's happened a lot of the time, people are buying not necessarily buying, but they're producing black knights or bought a black knight, and I've seen articles like 2 or 3 laters. This is how the black knight could end up. Yes, okay, you've got yourself a dark animal there, but that animal will most likely not go on to produce you what you think it's going to produce you.
Yeah, they're not the ones you want to continue to line breed, not at all. I mean, obviously, you can line breed if you're going to line breed it and continue to breed it for 5 years against black stuff. 100% that'll work, but when it comes to breeding the black knights, you want those animals that don't change, that were born dark, stay dark, and have not fluctuated. But it's a different story when you're crossing. I'm talking about pure line only there.
Yeah, 100%. What you said there was very smart. You said when you pair a pure line to pure line, you might get one good one. It's the same as every single morph, and I don't know why. Something with black knight. And I know it's market influence. Every gecko you get, let's say you get a tangerine to tangerine. Look at your 2 MTs you paired up, right? You're not just going to get all red. You're going to get a variant of different. You're going to get some jungle. Yes. You're going to get some bandage. You're going to get some yellowish ones. You're going to get ones with orange and yellow banding. That's the same with black knights. And this is where I was one. When you first got into black knights, I went, Jay, it's a bit of a risk, mate. You know, loads of people are going to start producing them. The price of them going to drop. And you're like, no. Because it's true. To actually get a solid black knight, they're actually quite rare. There's not that many of them.
Very rare. I have got to the stage where, so obviously I've said on your podcast, Ferry does quit breeding black knights this year. And I do take over as the successor of Black Knight line. So my last import with Ferry is his 4 more of his best original breeders. Now, I already have many of them here, and this 4 is the 4 I've imported now was just more of a status going. I will produce more quality via the Black Knights as he's gone now. He's gone, so there's a gap there that I'm going to fill. Again, I looked. When Ferry sends me photos of the ones available, I look for certain things, and the 4 I picked out were most definitely what I would call top quality black knights. But when it comes to those 100% black animals, it is hitting one. Not one in a million, but it's very rare. Very rare.
It's like super giants. It's like, just in my experience, people seem to think you put a. I know there's all different. I'm not even going to go down that route probably on this podcast. I know there's different. People believe it's lion bred. People believe it's codon. But I'm just saying, for somebody who's been breeding super giants for almost 6 years, you pair a super giant to super giant. They're technically all super giants, but you will get some that don't quite get to that, make that super giant standard. You always will get. It's like I said, every pair you're going to get a variant. You're going to get some super giants that will get to 110, and you're going to get some that are going into the 150, 60, 70s, and hopefully going into 4 size, which we'll go into a little bit later towards the end of the show. But while we're on the Black Knight topic, obviously it's all going to be Black Knight because obviously we're talking to Ego, Geckos, and Chase. What is your mindset with going into Panda? Because I know when you got Gorgon, you said my aim is to put my darkness influence in. That's my first year, George. I'm gonna produce all. It's all gonna be Max Snow's Black Knight Het Eclipses, and then because I want to introduce my darkness in. And then instead of just buying, a Super Snow Black Knight that ain't got much darkness and putting it into Gorgon and making just, pandas, you're going, right, I'm going to put my stamp onto this.
Yeah. So with Gorgon, I found that he wasn't the best to throw over darkness. And I paired him to some of my best. So a lot of people this year might go, my pure line game wasn't the best this year because all my best pure lines went into Panda. So so with my pure lines, I did some. I knew because my male would throw over most of the darkness. I did some with pattern. A lot of my females had pattern. Not a lot. We're talking probably about a 95% black animal. So it's still for standards in the USA and UK, it's still top notch. For me, that's not good enough. So my 99% black animals went to Gorgon. And I found that he didn't throw over too much darkness. You was looking for that 1 out of 8 eggs, that one special animal out of 8 eggs from him to Pure Line. But when I paired him to so I've been working on, since I ever got the Black Knights, I've been pairing Max Snow to Black Knight. And I worked on, I call it a void line. It's not a line, it's just what I call a void because they're so black. Same with some of my pures, I call them void. It's when they are like they are 100% black animals and they don't fluctuate and they are just, the darkness is a different level. I've got 3 of them from the 3 max that go from that. So what I've done was I added the max into Gorgon and got those Super Snow Hets, which really did surprise me because the darkness that was transferred. Bear in mind, Super Snow it's a black and white animal. Yeah. So what you're doing there is you're darkening the base up, and the black spots you're kind of like, it's like playing dot to dot. You're joining them together, so you can make a Super Snow look dark anyway. Especially when they hatch, they look black. Do you know what I mean? Every Super Snow when they hatch, especially on low temperatures, they look black.
Yeah.
But these animals are growing 40 grams and keeping so much black. These are Het Eclipse, by the way. Those were like, that was like, wow, these are going to replace him straight away. Like these were the animals. You know what I mean? I was looking for. I probably jumped a few years doing those pairings because I initially thought I was just going to get Max and I was going to pair him to the Super to the Mac and obviously hope for the best. But I didn't expect much because I thought he wasn't going to throw over as much darkness. However, I think my Mac's done a really good job, and the Supers I think I've let go of 1 so far this year, and that went to Chase, and it's a male proven. Bear in mind, so my best Panda male, I say Panda project, Super Snow Het Eclipse male proven, is actually flying over to the USA with Chase. But I'm looking forward to his babies because I paired him before he's flying, so he's going to be the main male that I've used on Panda. But yeah, so when it comes down to it, I did get really lucky and get some really nice dark supers. Now I've got some darkness over. I'll work another generation. I'll do half and half now. Half the generation will go towards darkness and the other half will go towards pied.
other than obviously adding the darkness into, the panda stuff, is there anything else you're going to be looking out for because of,
Extreme Pied.
yeah.
My end goal for Panda will be a white and black animal, Extreme Pied.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for all variations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking for all. I'm looking for, when you look at Super Snow Eclipse Extreme Pied, I'm looking for that, but with Black Knight.
Yeah.
So you can get half
Panda.
and half.
That panda look. Yeah, like a cow. Yeah, with a big
Yeah.
Is that while we're talking about this, everywhere in the world has different opinions, different, we see pied as different. I know USA take the white nose, the white tail, and the white feet as pied, but to me that's just Eclipse. Okay, we hear stuff about, I've got some white face radars that have the white face, but I wouldn't say that's pied. Pied to me is when you're getting the splotches in the body, and for example, when I say pied raw python, it ain't just going to be a normal python with like a white nose and a white tail. You want that white animal with the blotches of the normal showing.
Yeah, my opinion on that would be when it gets to the body as pied, when it gets off the nose, even a patch of the head, I would call that pied. The neck, I'd call that pied. The tail, I don't know what I would call pied in the tail because I'm not sure, because you get the Eclipse markings that can go very far up, but it's normally that's just the tip in it.
Yes, yeah.
So I don't know whether it's for others, because I'm not 100% sure. If the tail goes all the way down, that'd be classed as pied. I'm not sure.
And would you say the pied in not just like Super Snows, but in Panda, would you say the pied is line bred, or would you say it's
yes pied is 100% line bred, and I personally believe it's a combination between the Super Snow and the Eclipse. See, if it wasn't, so it all goes down to the Eclipse gene. If Eclipse was pied and it caused pied, then you'd see extreme pied tangerines, extreme pied trampers, extreme pied blah blah blah, but you don't. So I think pied only comes from the Super Snow plus the Eclipse.
Yeah, makes total sense. But with Chase stealing all the show, I'll let Chase give some moments to Chase. So Chase, from a young aspiring breeder, what's the best advice you could give? Because I've said it, I keep saying it. What I find amazing with you and being such a young age, when I was your age, I was, doing all sorts, all sorts of silly stuff like a teenager would do. But you've done things the right way, and I've never met a 17-year-old as hard working, because you had to work for these. I know for some reason when money's involved, people assume, if I go and buy a £10,000 car, people are going to start saying, "Oh, did mummy and daddy probably got that for him?" Jealousy is just a normal thing. We all have it. It's just some people express it differently. Like if I get a little bit jealous about something, I would go out and try and do that or do it better. Where some people take jealousy to the point where they want to, belittle someone. So again, for someone who's young, who's got into this, for other young breeders that are going to be listening to this, what's the best advice you could give them?
My best advice I'd give anybody is anybody honestly just want to start breeding leopard geckos is go for stuff that'll stand out. Don't just go for stuff that will stand out to the public, what people want to see. People be like, "Whoa, that's cool, I haven't seen nothing like just try to get the best of the best animals that you can for your project." So what that light years ahead of stuff. Like for anyone listening that didn't know, I'm 17, and like you said, people would assume mommy and daddy's money, but my mom and dad, we live, normal lives, and they just they're not nothing crazy in life, but they're the best parents I could ever ask for. They supported me for this dream. This is a dream of mine, been my whole life anyway. And but I mean, I've kind of gave up my social life to work the way I do, and because I basically work 24/7, and I'm in high school, so I go to school all day, then work all night.
Oh, exactly, because of we play a lot of Xbox and stuff. So I know what you're like. You're you're on a grind? Because I know you buy and sell video games, like old school video games. You have your eBay store. Anyone who's interested in any old school games, hit Chase up. Anyway, you're cutting grass in the summer. You work in Walmart. So you've had to grind. You've had to grind to have what you have.
Exactly. I've been nonstop. So I started doing the reselling business as professionally as I can through eBay. I just got it started this past year. I've sold over 200, 300 things, I believe. And like you said, cutting grass in the summer. This summer, I plan to start an active business, be licensed and insured. Last year, I was just doing it yard to yard, but this year I plan to do it big. And I work Walmart. I work Walmart all the time, after school. Then the days I'm not working Walmart, I'm out doing some other little jobs and doing some other work. Then when I get extra time, hop on Xbox and play with boys right here.
That's it. It's the best way. It's the best way to be. And you've gone about it the right way. It must be a bit of pressure for you because you're gonna in the reptile scene. As much as it seems like a big scene, it's actually quite a small scene. There's a lot of people that breed, but in the whole aspects of like when you put reptile scene and the fish scene together, the fish scene is huge. So you must have a little bit of pressure, and you've got a lot of obviously eyes on you. But for those that are listening, what's your thought process with what you're gonna? Because I call you Mini Eco, you're Mini J. you love everything Jay does. You got a similar taste. You got similar taste in geckos and stuff like that. Is without saying, are you trying to imitate what Jay's doing, but in the USA? What's your do you want to? Are you striving to have that? Because I know with like money and things and market and stuff, for some reason with animals, if you earn any money out of doing what you love with animals, it's seen as a negative. Which obviously, in my opinion, if you earn something from your hobby, which is great, if you can put more into it if you're earning from it, or like for example with Jay. Okay, his animals are worth, whatever, over the thousands. He does have cheaper animals too. But most of what he does will go back into buying more, or it'll go into like maybe upgrading a rack or buying a new rack. Is that similar? I know in the USA it's a bit different. I know like you can class breeding reptiles as a business, where in the UK you have to get certain licenses and stuff. What's your thought process on how you're gonna, tackle producing Black Knights in you, because you're going to be in demand?
Yeah, so I've basically brought everything Jay does to the USA. Really, I've took his second best that he's replaced with better ones, right? But that is kind of a lot of stress on me because I'm sure he's looking forward to seeing what I do, and I look up to you too as well, and because with the Panda stuff, I'll be, like he said, he's only sold one of them, and that's to me. And there's a lot of people looking forward to seeing what I make and what I put out there with it, because I got plenty of females here ready to breed, ready to go in at him, and be hopefully popping pandas. But like they said, I got the same visions as he does, really, with the body pie of the blackness, like a cow, like the cow pattern. And basically, I want to make the black top of the animal, then the bottom half white.
White, piercing white, yeah,
exactly. Because I believe that's stunning.
I'm going to say this now. This kid we got here in this show, in the next 10 years, Chase is the future of the hobby. He's the young boy. All I'm saying now, I'm going to say it right now, and in 10 years' time, people could be like, George was right. This kid is going to do wonders in the USA. What do you think about Chase and what he's doing? Because again, I know you said you're honoured. I'm honoured Jay has released me like one of the Panda projects, but also Jay can't work with everything. Same with me. Us breeders, we wish we could hold everything back and produce everything. We all lack space. We all need space. So, believe it or not, even though Jay's released you one, he's probably in the back of his head thinking, I'm going to watch what he's doing, because he's probably going to produce something I want.
Yeah, so me and Jay talked over this, and anything I produce from the Panda stuff, I have to send him pictures of, and somebody say something, we have to work that out and send it over to him. If I don't keep it, then let him, do his ways with it and pair it to some stuff that he'd look forward to. Because I'm sure there'll be a few things pop out that he'll be wanting. I'm hoping anyway.
Oh, 100%. He said to me that little git, he's going to be producing fire, and I've got my eyes all over him. What's your? I don't know. Sometimes I struggle to word things. What's your thoughts on how Chase is going to do? Because I like I say, I've struggled to put words because us in the group chat, I know he's going to do well. From a Black Knight breeder to a future Black Knight breeder.
Yep.
How do you think Chase is gonna? Because we've said before, look, mate, like you are gonna stumble, across jealous people and stuff like that. Yeah. What's your thoughts of how you think, from somebody who's been talking to Chase, how do you think he's gonna do?
Oh, I think he's gonna crash and fail. To be fair with you, mate. I'm joking. Chase is possibly one of the best kids I've ever met. For a 17-year-old man who works as hard as he does and has this much dedication and passion towards what he's doing, it is very rare these days. My legit answer to the question is he's done everything right. He went for the quality. Me and Chase were friends before anything was ever sold. Was spoke about selling. We were playing Ark together on Xbox and stuff. As a young man, he's very mature, and the work ethics on the geese is absolutely unreal. When it comes to actually producing the stuff, he went the right way. He went, I don't care how long it's going to take or how much money it is, I will save and I want that. And a lot of the stuff I released, I wouldn't release to anyone. Like the stuff I was releasing, like my breeders and the Panda I released, it wouldn't have gone to the public. Do you know what I mean? It was the fact Chase was after it at the time, and I obviously had other other things going on, like very quitting and that. I was like, right, I can release some stuff, and obviously, first person I think is Chase, mate. Do you want that? If not, obviously it goes to the pure lines, the breeders. I would release to the public, but the Panda stuff, there was no way. So I think he's going to absolutely smash it. And we did have a conversation on what he's producing, and I said to him, if you produce anything that's really nicely pied with darkness, I will buy it. I will buy it back from you. Yeah. Not only does it support him and what he's doing, I said, I'll buy it from you and I'll pair it to my best and I'll throw you one back as a thank you.
Yeah. That's what breeding's all about, isn't it?
It's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, 100%. This is what it's all about. I'm not asking everyone to hold hands, and everyone naturally has their own circle of friends and etc. But that's what it's all about. Do you know what I mean? Like there's stuff I've released, and I didn't want to release it, but I haven't got the space, and I'm like, keep me posted. If you want to talk, and like, especially with the Stonewash stuff, it's such a rare and unique line that I've got to do it justice, and I do have to be careful how I market it because of next thing we're going to see Stonewash that are not even trempers. You know what I mean? So yeah. I have to be careful how I do things. When I do release some, I like to keep that relationship with somebody. Like, not saying that whatever you sell, I have to have first dibs, but it's like,
not at all.
Produce something and I like it, I will buy that from you.
I'm going to offer you a deal that you can't use. It's simple as that.
Exactly. So, yeah, no, I like that. Chase just brings me flashbacks 6 years ago when Jay. I'm going to produce the best Black Knights. I'm going to get Black Knights. I remember you saying to me, "Look, George, mate, if the market on them falls, I don't really care. I've always been about black and white geckos, monochrome geckos. That is me. You've always been like your Super Snows, your Blizzards, and your DBs, and so you've all that is what you like. But you have toyed into a few tangs, haven't you?
I have. And do you know who it was? It was Magic. Remember, Magic, George. It was him. That guy. He went to me. He showed me a few, and I went, I don't care. I don't like them. This is years ago. And he went, I'll give you a year or two. I went, what do you mean? He went, I'll give you a year or two before you get some. I went, nah, mate, not into him. I was adamant I'm not getting any tanks. And then obviously I saw the solid orange, and I started seeing the red coming into them. And I was like, yeah, I've got to get some. I've got to get some. But the thing is with tangs with me is that I have a very, my taste is very, it's unique, and if the animal isn't right, it doesn't matter how. If it was solid orange, but the orange wasn't the tone I wanted, I wouldn't take it.
Yeah,
it has to be.
You have a vision
right.
with something. Like if there's a certain tangerine, if it isn't that look, I'm not getting it.
I waited 2 years to get my male alone. Bear in mind the right male, and when I did, I had to spend about £4,000 it was for him. I imported him from Korea. And that's a lot for a tang. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, didn't spend it all on the tang, but a lot of it come down to the import fees, the tax, blah, blah, blah. And to do that and wait that long for the right animal, because I've been after tangs for a couple of years now. I didn't get any. So the male I got was ideal. And obviously, being a Korean import from a breeder that I don't think anyone in the UK or in the UK has got from him, because due to the fact you have to pay so much on importing. And the taxes and that. So obviously, when it comes to him, I've copped him now. And the only other really amazing tang I obviously have is Red Tiger.
She's a different league of her own. While we're talking about Red Tiger, because I do see, people have screenshotted Red Tiger and they put them in groups and stuff. A lot of people think Red Tiger is a morph.
Yeah.
Could you explain a bit more behind Red Tiger?
Red Tiger was an import from myself from Korea. She is not a morph. Red Tiger is her name because it describes what she looks like to me. I would like to replicate the look. I'd like to replicate the look. Inside joke. But it has, so for it to become any sort of line or whatever, it will have to have years and years of work, because I can't just buy something and call it a line. It doesn't work like that. But if I was able to replicate that very defined, unique look, I then would start calling it a Red Tiger line. However, it's not a line now. It is nothing more than an Inferno blood that's in my collection that's called Red Tiger.
Great, because I think a lot of people needed to hear that, because I know, because she is such a unique animal. You won't find another Red Tiger. I think that's why people think this is the Red Tiger. This is a new line of Tangerine. Who knows in the future? Like you said, anything you work with, if you put if you're going into the 7-8 years of line breeding a certain look, and it's it's the look is reproducing, let's say. Then technically, you do have a line there. But it's good to let people know that actually, no, it ain't a line. That's what I've named her. But if I do have a line from that, that's what it'll probably be called, Red Tiger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it, mate. 100%.
She is a gorgeous animal. Everyone loves her. The thing is, what amazes me with Red Tiger is she's not a young gecko. She is a young gecko, but not a young gecko. That makes sense. She's not a baby. She's not a juvenile. No. And that colour stays.
Yeah,
which is phenomenal for
it's different. It's a different type, isn't it? When I show, you've seen them many times in person. Every time, it's just a different type. Like the orange goes down the sides of the belly, all the way under.
Yeah,
it's just a different animal.
She's cut from a different cloth. That's the best way to put her. She's cut from a different cloth.
Exactly. And when I first set eyes on her, bear in mind, I'm obviously a reputable breeder. I've gone onto this website, which I found on Instagram, and it wasn't even in English. I saw this gecko, and it stayed with me for a week. Every night I'd look on it.
I remember.
I sent it in.
Yeah.
I looked and looked and looked and I looked, and I went, I've got to get it. I don't care how much I've got to get that animal.
Yeah.
And I did, and I'm so happy I did. And then I imported a second one. The second one is nowhere near as nice, but it has the Inferno spotting. I wanted. So just for a second animal as a backup. It has the same colour. And in fact, I looked at it the other day and I went, wow, that's nearly red.
Yeah.
Nearly, not quite, you know what I mean? And I probably caught her on a really good day. But I'm going to add her into the mix just to diverse the blood a little bit.
Yeah. As a breeder, when you look at some people's when they got little groups together, like I can see what you was doing with her, like the red, not
Yeah.
Red Tiger, but the other Red Tiger version 2. Let's say I can
Yeah.
see what you're trying to do. You're trying to
Yeah.
and having
Exactly.
2 females is better than just having the one.
Yeah,
No,
diverse the blood a bit. Do you know what I mean?
exactly. Lava. We've got to talk about lava. Everyone's loving the lava at the moment. What is your future with lava? Is it just a little side thing, Jay? Is it just a little side thing you want to play with?
No, do you want to know the 100% the truth?
Go for it.
Lava was a birthday present to myself because it looked weird. And that is it. That is it. Lava was a birthday present to myself. I remember on my birthday, they were releasing some, and I had things I hadn't ordered coming from Canada anyway. So, and they were going to drop this animal, and I tried to get in there secretly in the DMs. Went, I've spent this much. Go on, let me have her. And I went, no, it's got to be fair. When that, I had a timer on my phone because it was my birthday. I was in a pub actually, drunk, steaming. Bear in mind, I had a time on my phone for when that dropped, and it did. I messaged him straight away. I want it. I didn't even look at the price when I want it.
I'm Eco Geckos, and I want that.
Go away. No. And I went, I really want that. And they went, you are the first person to actually get hold of us. So if you want it, it's yours. Drop deposit and end up importing that. Obviously, it looks like an African fat tail, don't it?
Yeah, I call it a leopard fat tail.
Mm-hmm.
She got that pale. She is a unique animal. Every time you look at it, you go,
very
what?
Unique.
How have they got to that?
Exactly. And the thing is with me, as you know, I don't like albino. I'm not an albino guy. The only 2 albinos I've got in my collection are special. That being 4 and Lava.
Yeah.
The look on her is absolutely amazing. If I was to go down the route of breeding, which I am obviously I'm going to pair her up, it's going to go back to my Black Knight because I want my darkness over.
So that's what's going to be interesting
and that's exactly what the creators said. It'd be very interesting to see what you do if you're going to put it back to Black Knight. I went, yeah.
Imagine that, like she's like a pink and with that orange banding. Imagine that pink. Imagine that pink goes into like a deep violet with your darkness.
You just don't know, do you? So the first year is obviously going to be het trempers, but the very best male I get from that pairing will go back to her. I'm talking darkness-wise. We'll go back to her. So obviously it will be I don't think the Tangerine will actually throw over on the first season, but it will have the Black Knight and the het tremper with a bit of that lineage of the Tangerine inside. So what I'll do is I'll pair the best male het to her and then add some Tangerine back in.
Definitely. I've spoke to you before about it because I'm a Tremper man, so I love her to pieces. I know you love her, but I love Tremper. So I'm interested because I know we spoke about this before. I'm really interested to see how that would do with Stonewash because of you've seen some of my Stonewash stuff, and that not as an adult, but as a hatchling, Stonewash has that. I've hatched some that have that laverish look.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm genuine. I even put a comment on Extreme's post, and I said, "Oh, I'd be interested in Stonewash." She said, "Yeah, that would be interesting." But it's like everything, though. Anything new or different, people have different projects, and people will be thinking, "I wonder how that would do with that. I wonder how that would do with that." But yeah, no, I would like to see how that does with Stonewash. But now you've mentioned it, 4. We got to talk about the world's largest leopard gecko.
Yeah.
Go into a little bit of detail, Jay. Because it was a bit of a pickle to get him. To be fair, I know Jay. If Jay says to me, right, I'm going to get that. Doesn't matter how hard it is. He will try everything he can to get that. I thought to myself, he ain't going to get that. It's the world's largest leopard gecko. No, he's not going to get that. Come on now, that's a history piece. But he got it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear how you went about getting him. Why have you got him? What are your plans with him? Because of it's Eco Geckos here.
Go away. 4. Yes. Oh well, that was a roller coaster, wasn't it? I've been after 4 since I mentioned Supergiant Black Knights. With me, obviously, as you said, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do the best I can. So if I went super giant black knight, so I went, well, I need the world's largest leopard gecko to do that with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Add the world's blackest. There's no point me getting the fucking second largest.
Yeah.
Sorry, language. The second largest or the third largest. I want the largest leopard gecko. So it took me, I think, 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was like lockdown. You started really inquiring and talking about it.
As soon as I found out like who had him and that, I was on the case from Stefan. I was on his case. I went, if you ever let this gecko go, I'll take him. Doesn't care about the money. I will save. I will make that money. It does not matter. I want him. So when it actually came down to a deal, we had a deal which basically fell apart. So I had to we had to do an altercation, and anyway, it worked. And on the time of shipping, basically, he wasn't meant to be shipped. So the Hooten or Ham show was was the next day, and I got a message from Stefan saying I'll drive. I think it was something stupid like 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah,
and take him to the Hooten show. And then I had to then arrange for someone to get him and take him to DDI, and DDI sent to here. Do you know? This is how hard it is in the UK to do things.
And do you remember the courier cancelled? So we're like, 4 couldn't even get picked. Yeah.
So me and George were in a pub, just obliterated from from anything.
Yeah.
We couldn't even stand properly.
We couldn't even see our phones.
And we've arranged.
We were kissing.
What?
No, I'm joking. Everyone listens. I am joking.
So we arranged for 4 to go there and do this all. And we had a courier that was our friend, which was going to go pick them all up, go over there, pick them up. It was all perfect. And I think we was drinking till about, I don't even know what time in the morning. We've woken up to a message. I got a phone call from George, I think, to wake me up, that the courier didn't get accepted to go across. So 4 had just been driven 8 hours to the show. The owners left him now, and we can't get him over. So that morning, obviously, I'm hanging out of my rear end, and I had to sort out an emergency courier for that day.
That was like Mission Impossible. That was like Mission. We were like, no, that's it. It's ended. Done. DDI gonna have to look after the animal till whenever we can next get it. Anyway, you managed to bloody pull it off. I don't know how. Eco Geckos, isn't it? It's that name. It's that 142,000 followers makes a lot of difference.
No. I had to pay a hefty amount. So if you imagine what I paid for him, add 25% on top of that just to make it happen. It was ridiculous. But we got him over. And when he first arrived, bear in mind, I've raised Titan, the UK's largest leopard gecko, produced by George, Elite Geckos. So my first introduction to super giants was this gecko that was the size of my pinky, probably smaller. And George went, here's a gift. It is a gift, take it, blah, 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 for free, no money or anything. And just see what you do with it. I raised him for 2 years.
Yeah, maybe even pushed him 3.
And he was what, 150, over 150.
Yeah. It was
by the time he left me.
It was probably the gecko that you remember you saying to me. You went, look, I didn't want to say anything because of you. You produce a lot of super giants.
Yeah,
he's like, I didn't ever really want to say anything to you because of, you heavily invested, but I wasn't a believer in supergiant, like fully. He ever since I raised Titan and watched how that gecko developed, grew, the structure.
Yes,
you're like, yeah, I believe it.
It changed my mindset 100%. So getting into that, watching him grow and the way how not just it was his length, he was huge. The gecko was absolutely monstrous. And obviously for me, my biggest probably was like 110. Seeing a 150 plus gecko, it makes a difference. So going off that, I thought definitely there's something there of super giants, definitely just big geckos. But then when I imported 4 and actually saw him for the first time, I think the first thing I said to you, George, I think there's something genetic going on because of the sheer animal it's not normal for a leopard gecko.
No.
If I compare them to any other leopard gecko, even his head is double the size of any leopard gecko you'll see. Bone structure. That gecko is just huge. I call him a mini caiman. That's exactly how I describe it. A mini caiman.
It's
a dwarf caiman.
It's gigantic. It is a giant. It's
and the thing was, I was always skeptical. I always thought it was line bred at its best. But the fact that Steve Sykes and Ron both believe it is genetic, and after seeing 4, I would like to shift over there, but I'm obviously not enough experience to actually say or do so.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna obviously figure out.
That's exactly what me. So when it comes to pairing 4, all my giants and super giant pairings that I'm doing before is linked with George. Every single one. The only side project I've got on my own is Super Giant Black Knight. Other than that, everything Super Giant and Giant that comes out of Eco Geckos will also be Elite Geckos co-host kind of thing.
Yeah.
So me and George are going to document and actually try and review our opinions on Supergiant. And obviously, working with the world's largest, we've got a real good base there, a good base structure.
100%. We got the females that created Titan.
Exactly.
The females I got from Steve Skies that were from obviously Godzilla line. So I am looking forward to seeing what we do. What's your plans with the 4 to Black Knight? Is that it?
What it was other people were doing it, and I saw people were doing it to the point where they're pairing a Black Knight to a Super Snow, Super Giant Eclipse, which is probably about 8 grams. All the babies that came out were probably about normal sized geckos, no Black Knight, and they're all called Max Snow, Het Eclipse, Super Giant Black Knights. That really annoyed me. So things are at where people are doing one pairing from Black Knight. There's no black, Super Giant to a normal, and there is no size, and they're calling them Super Giant Black Knights. That annoyed me. I said I want to do that project, but I want to do it properly, and obviously that's where I got 4 into it. The goal is for me to complete it, because obviously Black Knight's a small gecko anyway, due to the incest in the line. So I say they're small. You can get big ones. You can get normal sized ones. They're not all small. They just typically don't grow 90, 100 grams. When it comes to pairing 4 to a Black Knight, I reckon it'll be about a 10-year project. And the goal is to get a solid black animal over 100 grams.
Yeah. And what a way to, if there's any way to do it, is having.
That's the only way I would have done it. I had to have the parents. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have done it if I want anything I do. I want to stand out. I want to have the best I possibly can. So when it comes to obviously doing that pairing, I had world's blackest animals. What was lacking was the world's largest.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what you do with that. What's your thoughts on Super Giant Black Knight Chase as a Black Knight man? What's your thoughts on the Super Giant Black Knights?
I think it would be amazing, like seeing that big of a gecko. Black Knight. Obviously, Black Knights are a little smaller than but they're still good sized geckos anyway. And I'm just excited to see where Super Giant goes. When see what Jay does with the Super Giants and Black Knights and all. I'm hoping he will carry it on, and it won't be a next project. It won't be year to year. And but after I say 5 years, it should go far. And with y'all's you two working together on the Super Giants, I'll be bringing in some next year from you two and be working with it myself, and hopefully bringing them other Super Giants in from other USA breeders. See if like Steve Sykes or anybody like that drops anything that would be. I'd like to cross with Thor's and children.
100%. Most places, most countries in the world with different breeders need people like yourself, Jay. Because of when you export or import. Sorry, not export. Import. A load of quality. Then you're basically, when you produce babies, it's got to save everybody else the importing fees in a way, because if you've imported the quality. So in my opinion, what would be the point in somebody buying a Black Knight from Jay when you're let's say you got a neighbor who's a breeder. There's no point in them buying a black knight from Jay when you're next door. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So that's why you need people like Jay who import the quality and then distribute it. Like just going by UK wise, you know, I might import a 1.3 group of Mandarin Tangerine, but people won't buy them from me just because of I'm in the UK. They would want to import it and do it all themselves and get a little bit of credit off of whoever they bought it from. So people like you is definitely needed. And while it's just reminded myself, because obviously we're talking about tangerines, and I know before we went live on this, you showed me some of your tangerines, because obviously not only have you got Black Knights, you've got Panda Project, you've got some nice Super Snow stuff, you've also got some pretty good tangerines. Explain a little bit about your tangerine stuff, because even you've had some tangerines even I was like, oh, I'd like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, for my first year, I wanted to get some good solid tangerines, so I started with the Infernos, Inferno Red Stripes to be exact, blood crosses, and those I started out with a 1.2 group, and they've paired this season. I'm going to continue on the line. I want to create more carrot tail with the line because they throw out some amazing pattern, good looking oranges. Honestly, I popped a couple that the patterns going under the belly, and just really good reddish orangish colors. And I'm really wanting to carry on the carrot tail because the carrot tail ain't too strong in the line. So I'm hoping to also add other lines, but you know, some lines of tangerines don't go well with each other. But I want to try out and see what works best with the Inferno Red Stripes, and see if I can create the color they give with just more carrot tail. I popped some of them with about 70%, 60% carrot tail, but that's the best ones I popped with carrot tail. Nothing above that.
Well, you got the quality in the way of you've got the orange there. Do you know what I mean? You're now just probably thinking, I want to get that carrot in now.
Exactly. Yeah. If I could see one with 90% carrot tail, 100% carrot tail, would be insane. I'd love to see it with that color of the orange and red.
Definitely. I think from my understanding and from what I can see from Jay's stuff, your stuff, people all around the world, Inferno and Blood seems to be the best stuff to cross with in tangerine wise, in my opinion.
I think Blood into anything will work very well. Any line with Blood works very well, I believe.
MT Blood, yeah. Blood, Inferno.
Blood, best ones I've seen. I'm sorry, Chase, I'll cut you off there, mate. Go ahead.
But well, like Jay just said too, Blood goes amazing with all tangerine lines. I've noticed. Like in other countries, you see MT Blood and anything. Blood seems to be really big in Korea and all the other countries.
Yeah.
And
albino blood.
Exactly, yeah, and it works so good. It looks so good too. Like I believe there's one breeder in Korea, I believe, and he mainly works with blood stuff, and he's popped some amazing, just crazy stuff that you'd be like, what, jaw dropping.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said, you got the fundamentals there with your tangerine stuff. You clearly got your good stuff with your Black Knights. If there was is there any other projects apart from what you currently have? Yeah. Is there anything else you'd be like, that's something I want to get into? There might be like something like Bold or Bandit, or might even be something you're all thinking, wonder how that would do in Black Knight.
Yeah, I'm really wanting to, I sound just like Jay, honestly, but I'm really wanting Lava as well. But like you said, I like Bandit. I'm a big fan of Bandit and Bold stuff, honestly. Like a lot of other morphs cross with it, and it seems to do really well with each other. And I like to just get a couple and play around with. But besides that, I have really the big main projects I want to work with Leopard Gecko-wise. And as we start talking in the Crested Geckos, and obviously I want to Axantics, lily white Axantics, all that. But besides that, I'm on my way to being basically what I want to do with Leopard Geckos.
It's good to hear, mate. We need to talk about this with the whole Black Knight scene, and you can, like we said earlier about Jay's is on a different league and stuff like that. What's your take on the Asian side of the Black Knight scene? Because they do tend to see You do see them. The thing is with Asia, is no disrespect to them. I love their animals. They produce fire, absolute fire. But their mindset is, from what I can see, please don't take me for this. Just from what I can see, when I'm on Instagram, I'm looking at a tub with got like 50 black knights in it, and I'm seeing a tub with like 50 of the best tangerines. They seem to work on things in a mass, and almost the integrity and the incest side isn't really cared about, should I say. I'm assuming, Jay, you spoke to many, breeders all around the world. What's your take on the Asia's side of the Black Knight scene? Because I do also see they got a new Melilin line.
So when it comes to the Korean side of things, me and the last conversation I had with Ferry was, in fact, a lot of the Black Knights coming out of Korea are very unhealthy. And the thing is that the USA will import them because they're a little bit cheaper. So it's bringing more of a stigma on Black Knight because they're getting these unhealthy Black Knights and it's Black Knight. In fact, the ones that are coming out of Korea are very unhealthy. I'm not saying this is all of Korea. This is just what me and Frey have discussed and what we've seen. I would have thought it's due to more incest. Obviously, initial imports and then just line breeding for more production. And this is just my perspective. It's not what's happening. But the fact that I have been brought up on this and the quality of the Black Knights coming out of there is an issue in Ferry's eyes, it says a lot. It says a lot. I always, like I say, from the initial pure line that I imported, I don't do any more incest from there. I look for the best of the best that were 5 years ago, and from there I breed them on. And if I do any holdbacks, I'll never go to mother, father, etc., etc.
Yeah.
This is where obviously you can't compete with a lot of the breeders over in Asia, because they have everything on the mass. I find in the hobby that we're in, when you see those huge factories of geckos, it's what kills the hobby for sure. It is massive. What I'm doing on a scale, but times probably 80. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, but who, you know what I mean? That's just my opinion. And I share opinion with a few others too. I think they're overbred to an extent over there, but not just Black Knights. I think a lot of morphs and line bred animals are just overbred. But at the same time, they do have absolutely lovely animals. I import from Korea myself, as I said. Yeah. It's not specific breeds or anything. It's just what I've observed overall. But there is an issue with the Black Knight quality coming out of Korea, for sure.
100%. Funny enough, you say that. I've got quite an interesting story. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a breeder I know who used to go to the ham shows. This will sort of explain how, for example, like someone approached me and said they would pay me £3,000 for Titan, like from Asia, like that straight off the bat. Hi, I want that animal. I'll send you 3,000. That is how they are. But there's a breeder that used to go to the ham show, and this, I think he said he was like 13. This little Korean kid came up to the table and said to them, he picked out a couple of geckos and said, "Have you got more like this?" And he said, "Yeah, I bought a poly box full of animals. I've got like quite a few of them." He said, I'll go, come back if you can put them all together, the ones similar to this quality, this morph, and I'll come back. And the breeder said to me, he thought to himself, like, this kid is like, it's a 13-year-old kid. Anyway, the kid came round, got a price for all the animals, and just paid it. Just paid. But I think it was like £6,000, £7,000 or something like that, and just paid it all and walked off. This is, do you know what I mean? They don't mess about, but they do produce on the mass, and whereas when you've got so many geckos, things like structure and things like that get forgotten about. Do you know what I mean? Like with you, if you're not quite happy with how a Black Knight's looking, you won't breed that one. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Or,
yeah, 100%,
or we go
yeah.
to a pet home with them. That sort of goes out the window. It's just pair black knight, black knight, black knight, black knight. But there's another discussion I wanted to say, and I'm really interested to hear what your thought is, because of I know you said about incest and stuff like that. Like that's more like son to mum and stuff like that. There was a post I saw. I can't even remember who it was. It was like they were trying to remove the incest out of Black Knight.
Yeah,
Now, my argument is
you can't.
how can you remove an incest out of Black Knight and maintaining that darkness? Because that darkness comes with incest.
Yeah, you can't. It's as simple that if you're trying to outcross Black Knight and maintain that level of darkness, you need to bring back the pure line on many generations. Therefore, you can divert it a little bit more, but there's always going to be that level of incest. There's no way or shape or form you can have a clean line of Black Knight unless you. No, I don't think it's possible in a lifetime. I don't. Only because if you was to do that, you'd have to pair two geckos, keep the darkest one back, pair that to another two geckos, darkest one, pair that together, and then. Do you know what I mean? You have to have so
It's
many.
always going to be incest.
Yeah, and that's the thing with line breeding. You need your line breeding traits that come from the parents that have moved down to the children. You're going to have to interbreed. I say every 5 generations. Don't do any more than 5. I would even do 5, maybe 4 or 3. Do you know what I mean? But 5 is your maximum before you introduce more blood. I'd keep it down to 3. Do you know what I mean? But how can I say that when I breed probably the most incest gecko in the world? Do you know what I mean? So obviously I don't want to be contradictive, but that's already there. I continued that work, but I've also improved that work on many levels. If I was to give anyone else advice that's line breeding, switch out every 3 generations.
Yeah,
you can.
I totally agree. At the end of the day, how morphs and lines like Black Knight were made is incest creates new morphs. This is how mutations pop up. Is pretty much incest. That's how. That is how. Like it's same with Tangerine. You didn't just a normal together didn't make an orange gecko. Like it would have been like a little speck of orange, and that orange is getting bigger and bigger. And
that's down to line
everything. Yeah, but the only thing is with things like Tangerine and stuff. Over the years, they have been crossed with other stuff, other Tangerine lines, and etc.
Yeah.
So things are a bit different with Black Knight because of Tangs are different with to keep like you said to keep that black to get that black. You have to line breed. You have to seriously line breed. I've paired a Tangerine to a normal and had like Tangerine influency normals and pair that back to the gecko. Obviously, it's incest, but I'll get a better quality animal than if it was a Black Knight. Black Knight is a different kettle of fish.
I agree. I think, well, like I said, any Black Knight project you've got, if you're outcrossing, give yourself 5 years. Your first generation ain't giving you Black Knights. No matter what you do, it ain't going to happen. If you're crossing a Black Knight to another morph, you're not getting Black Knights. It's as simple as that. Even if it has a tiny bit of darkness, you don't call a normal with a tiny bit of tang. It's not a Black Knight. You can call it a cross. Even though it's such a stupid way to look at things, a Black Knight cross compared to a Black Knight is a big difference. So you calling it a Black Knight cross and working on it is I'll give you more respect than if you're going, that's a Black Knight. It's not a Black Knight. And like it goes back to when I'm seeing these super giant Black Knights that have no size and no black. I don't understand what's going on here. I really don't.
So
it's a problem.
In your mindset, going to people that are going to be producing Black Knight crosses, etc., what would you class as a Black Knight cross? And then what would you class as a Black Knight lineage?
So when it comes to Black Knight cross, it's when you've crossed anything when you've crossed the pure line to anything and line bred. So my Max Snows, they're crosses. They are crosses, but the fact it's how can you put it? When you cross Inferno into Science, when does it become an Inferno? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's still a cross. It's not from the pure line. It's not from the pure whatever, but it's always a cross. Even if it's a solid black animal, but it's a max snow. It's not pure line black knight, is it?
It's a cross. You can't uncross something. It's like my dog's a pug Shih Tzu. If I pair him to a pug, then that baby to a, it's always going to have the Shih Tzu in its blood. Yeah,
it's a special dog. I tell you that
he is. He is a special dog. He's got all 4 legs, luckily. But before we wrap the shop, I'd also like talk about your crested geckos. What's your plans with your Cresties? What's your future with the Cresties? Well, because I know you got other things going on with crested geckos. You've got a nice little collection of crested geckos. Again, very picky with your crested geckos.
Yes.
It'd be nice to hear about your Cresties.
When it comes to the crested geckos, obviously, put money aside of things. Axantic was the animal I wanted because it produces dark animals, which you can also keep the white on. Now, people would go, but charcoal produce dark animals. Have you ever seen a charcoal fired down?
They are brown.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
They're greenish brown. They're not the same. But an Axantic fired down can still have that very dark or even a bluish grey look, which is still, as you know, George, grey is one of my colours.
Yeah.
Grey, silver, anything solid like that, I love. But with the Axantics, it's that dark look and the white you can get on them. Obviously, a lily white Axantic, different kettle of fish. So the initial goal with the Crested geckos was Axantic. Obviously, I imported my original hets from Altitude Exotics back in lockdown. Do you remember I went to you, I'm going to get Axantics? You went, no, you're not. I am.
Again.
I am. And I got them. But going off this year and not producing, obviously having that one visual in the egg that died, and when I opened it up, it was a solid black. I imported it was a stunning animal.
Yeah.
Such a shame. I imported a lily white het Axantic male. He's breeding age now. That obviously a very hefty import for sure. He was going to go to my het, and me and Chase and you, we've been on Xbox talking, and I'm just not happy with taking the chance again because I had I think around 8 to 12 eggs. I'm not 100% sure. 8 to 12 eggs that season from the hets, and I got one visual, which didn't even make out the egg. So I wasn't happy with those results. So as you boys know, I decided to recently buy a visual female. Now this female is probably the most expensive gecko in my collection alone, and it probably tops many of my Leo collection. But she was the perfect animal. She is a black animal with white pinstripes all the way down. There's only one slight break on the right side, but that animal for me, if you look at Panda, it represents Panda in the Crested gecko world.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. So my future with them would be to make black and white animals again, as I do with Leo.
So to mimic what Eco Geckos has done to your leopard geckos, but you're bringing that into crested geckos. Like we said, you won't. You always said to me, George, mate, I'm a leopard. I'm always going to be a leopard gecko guy, but I do like cresties, and it has to be a Pacific look and the highest.
Yes.
Like, even some lily whites. Chase has put just a lily white, but it's like so pure white. You're like that. I like that. Has to be a Pacific look.
For me, yes, I'm after Pacific looks on geckos. I'm not after. I don't care if they're £10 or 10,000. I don't care. It's the look that I want. I will get, and if it isn't popular, I will try my best to make it popular.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So going forward this season, I guess, are you?
Yep, this season.
Will you be producing Axantics? Will you be holding them all back? Will there be some available?
Right. So my pairings will be a lily white het. So my lily white het will go to my pure black het female. I will offer all visuals and lily visuals that come from that pairing. And I'm waiting on another 2 Axantics to be imported from Japan. They will be imported in the next few months. One is nearly breeding size. If she gets up to weight, she'll be paired this season. If not, it'll be next season. I'm not worried about when she's paired. I don't care. I'd rather her get her weight, be steady, be cool, and then pair her up. She'll be going. So she's the black, solid black animal with the white pins. She'll be going to a lily white het.
Oh, I'm genuinely excited, and I know full well you're going to have so many people lined up for those animals.
I hope so. The money spent on them probably outdo most. Like, obviously, 2 Axantics aren't cheap, and having a near breeding size of that quality, you're talking up into the 40,000s. Do you know what I mean? It is crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, so that shipment alone is just it's a silly one to even think about. But when it does come in, it's like a realization. Wow.
Yeah.
I've got that. I've got to this point where I'm allowed to work with these animals. You know what I mean?
Definitely. This is where Chase is going to laugh. Chase is probably the worst influence when it comes to Crested, because that guy will constantly.
Guy's made me buy.
What about the other day? The other day was in we was in the Facebook chat, and he sent. I think it was cheap for the price. It was like a 20K Crested that was reduced to 15, and he actually persuaded Jay to message the person. I think it actually ended up getting sold or something. So Chase is the worst person to have.
Right into it. I've talked him into at least buying the female.
Yeah.
He's made me buy 3 females so far in the Cresties.
So Chase has made you lose out on a house deposit, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But talking about Cresties, Chase, are you going to be getting into Cresties? Because I know you talk about it, and you said I know you mentioned to me you would like to get some kind of racking system or some kind of something going for the Cresties.
Yeah, I like to set up I like the bioactive look at the Crested Gecko enclosures, like the flowers in them. Those are beautiful. But I plan to work with them hopefully in the future. Like after probably next season, I'll probably end up picking up a visual or two, because I'm definitely wanting to pair. So that, and maybe some like solid lily whites, and just I'm really also looking at super dows. The white based super dows, the big black ink spots. Those are
Chase, I've been looking for solid lily whites since I started Cresties. I have not found one for sale. I'm still looking.
I got a full future ahead of me. We'll find one day.
We'll get a Facebook message tonight, Jay. Look what I found. We will. Anyway, guys, I think we'll probably give this episode a wrap up here. I just want to say a huge thank you to Jay and Chase. Chase, if you want to let everybody know where they can find you, where can they find your available geckos? Is there a page they can follow you on?
Everything I will be posting available will be on my Instagram at LeMasterScales, LEMASTER, and then just scales. Then I also have a TikTok. I haven't been very active on social media, which I will be in this coming season when babies start flowing and everything starts pairing up. Then I believe I will be starting a Morph Market page here soon. And but mostly everything available will be posted on IG, on the stories.
Brilliant. And I don't want to say, Jay, do you want to let everyone know where to find you, because of everyone probably knows where to find you, but in the future, what is there going to be a change in how you sell your animals? I know you've mentioned, AIL license and getting websites going and stuff like that, or are you going to continue to do how you do it?
So I'm currently in the works of getting an AEL. It should be done in the next couple months, and it will change. Instead of having to secretly try and sell on Instagram and Facebook, because obviously the new rules, I will be posting everything to my website with a price. First come, first served. Obviously, with the Instagram, I've got a subscription. Subscribers will get early access of what I'm releasing. This will include supergiant pandas, red tigers, the best pure line black knights. Obviously, so I know it's a bit of a, but it helps me out to the point where, when it comes to Eco Geckos supplies itself fully. So every little bit of eco geckos makes, it goes into new animals, food, new rack, whatever.
Pays for itself. It cycles itself as a business.
It doesn't pay for Jay and a nice car. It doesn't do that. It goes into itself so I can produce more animals, more content for my social medias to gain more followers and obviously worldwide. But yeah, everything will be done on a website. Hopefully, I'm hoping I can get it all done and ready for my next big sale. Obviously, yeah. Obviously, you can find me on my social medias. I do try and get back to everyone as fast as possible, but having as many followers as I do, it may take time.
Definitely, but what will be good as well when you have a website is not only when everyone, because I know I've seen your messenger, you get like 100 requested messages, then you got 80 messages, normal messages, so you're talking like 100 plus messages every day, so it is quite hard. And then people are asking for available. So when you have a website, it will literally be easy to go to people. There's a website. All there. And also what you will probably do is you'll probably do something similar to Altitude. You'll probably be like every 3 months or 4 months.
Yes.
50 new animals have been added to the eco geckos.
Yes, I do. I want to bring hype to it. I want to, hype to the sales. Obviously, it's so much easier to just put them on a website and going, here you go, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? It's so much easier. Otherwise, people don't even know what I have available all the time. They go, there's nothing on your website. I go, I can't put it on my website, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It all got to be done on the DMs, but I can't even advertise it on my Instagram or Facebook. So you've got to message me with a certain thing you want, and if I have it, I can sell it. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard at the moment.
It's difficult for us, especially because Instagram are taking accounts down.
Exactly.
UK rules are you can't technically be a breeder and really earn from it. Lucky for us, we're out of pocket. We're out of minus what we throw back into our animals and stuff. But really, you need an AAL license, which basically means you can then pay tax on your animals. You're allowed to pay tax on your animals. So someone comes around, they inspect your stuff, they check your measurements, your quarantine, they check your weight, make sure you're documenting everything. Even things like they want safety, safety stuff. So like fire extinguisher, stuff like that.
Running water, bottled water, your nearest vet, everything needs to be done, which I'm working on. I'm going through everything and checking off to their perspective. Do you know what I mean? I want them to be happy. I think that's the best way, because obviously the way Eco Geckos is going, it's growing and growing and growing. It has to go to the point where I'm going to have to obviously register it, and I don't mind that. It is more
protection for yourself too. Yeah,
exactly. And not only that, I know I'm doing something right, so I'm happy. I can't wait to actually land one.
Yeah, because then it's gone from
hobby,
Eco Geckos being a hobbyist, to Eco Geckos being a business.
Licensed breeder,
absolutely. And again, you're living the dream. Every single breeder, hobbyist breeder, I'd call you a liar if you don't look and think, right, I want this to make a business in the future. But yeah, no, definitely. But I appreciate you both coming on and spending the last 2 hours talking to me. We'll have to get you guys back on in end of summer, so we can see the Axantics, we can see how Chase is doing. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys for coming on to today's episode.
Easy, Matt. No, I really enjoyed it. I really appreciate the invite, George.
No, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And make sure you hit these guys up, especially Chase. He deserves it.
Yeah, Chase needs some love. 100% new breeder.
Appreciate it.
All right, boys. Well, I'll catch you later. We'll probably play Xbox later anyway. But hey, really appreciate it, boys, and thank you everyone who tuned in today. Take it easy.